sports and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him.
You're listening to the Bob Ryan Gary Tanguay podcast, proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Show is brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, Bob, we're going to answer an email coming up, but before that, we'd like to get your take on the Celtics at the time of this recording. They are coming off a win over New Orleans. So far, your thoughts on the 1-3 team?
This is a classic textbook work in progress team. We are learning. Joe Mazzulla is conducting a nightly experiment. Who can play? Who can play with whom? What kind of combinations do I have? This is obvious, and I hope fans understand this. They have components. They have people who can play, but we got to get people who the groups to play together. There is one major flaw, and I don't know how that can be rectified immediately: the rebounding. The defensive rebounding is subpar. They're giving up too many offensive rebounds. That's a bad thing. They don't have the best rebounder is not playing. His name is Jayson Tatum. They don't have anybody near that. They lost Luke Cornett. They lost Porzingis. They don't have and Al Horford. So this is the issue. But aside from that, they've got we can see flashes of people that are going to be able to make contributions, starting with Anthony Simons. He's a scoring dude, and he's going to be very, very useful. Okay, what his defense, he says he's going to work on it. We'll see. Anyway, we see flashes. Luke Garza in that New Orleans game. Whoa, a little of this, a little of that. He's 7 feet tall. He can make a three. He can play. He was a great college player. He's got kind of buried in his beginning of his NBA career. Maybe this is where he's going to get, ascend. We'll see. So I said this before it started. They're 500-ish. That's who they are this year. Somewhere, my range was 37 to 45. Somewhere in there, that's where they're going to finish with wins. 37 to 45. Obviously, if it's over 50%, they got a good chance of at least getting the play-in. That's a goal. I have a low bar for them, but I'm not. They're interesting. I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. Now, another question: how would Jaylen Brown he's stepping up? Of course, he's hurt already. That's the only problem. He's got that hamstring, but he's showing us that he's ready to assume the burden of being the #1 guy. Okay, white is white, and so we go. So, but just so people understand that. They have things, and some nights they've had lapses, but they've had a stretch. How about a stretch to 31-4? That's what they ended that New Orleans game. Oh, geez. Now, asterisk: Zion Williamson didn't play.
Right. Shocking. All right. Well, Bob, let's do this. Let's do a little exercise here so that we can be truly fair and break this down. I think on the surface, the theme of this year was, can Jaylen Brown be a #1?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we need to couch that a little bit in that he has proven that he can step up, as you said. But the real difference between this team and the team in the last 2 years, specifically the championship team, is no Porzingis healthy. I mean, no Porzingis at all.
Right.
Drew Holiday was a different guy last year. Two of the main reasons that they won the championship that year, of course, a lot of guys were out on opposing teams. Fine, you play the schedule. But Porzingis and Holiday were huge, and they're gone. So I think that people need to realize what I say to people is like, look, don't put this all on Brown. Don't put it all on Brown. So the question I'll ask you is, if Brown was out and Tatum was in, how different would it be?
Well, that's a very fair question. I think #1 we would have the Tatum's rebounding, but marginally better.
Right. So my point is, like you said, 37 wins with Jaylen Brown. Because I don't want Jaylen Brown to get a raw deal here by the media. I don't think he will. I think that people who cover the team will understand the roster challenges.
Mhm.
But, if you say with Jaylen Brown, you get 37 wins, if Jalen's out and Tatum has this team, what do you have, 45 wins?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe?
Yeah, right. You don't know. I mean, wins depend on schedule. Look, in the NBA season, as much as any sport that we know, when you play people, it matters.
Right.
When you play them, are they healthy? Are you playing 3 games in 4 nights? As
Back to
one
back.
team,
Yeah.
as one team sitting there rested, and the other team's coming in off the road. You don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of factors. So the schedule, it's not, you can't tell in advance. So no, I think marginally to be better because Tatum is better, and he's a little bit, you can do a little more. So, but not a huge amount that it would transform them into something. I know you make a very good point. I like the way you think there. It's good.
Yeah,
Good.
Bob likes me.
I do. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, and I hope that people remember, because I don't want Brown to get a raw deal.
No, you're right, and he's already. I think his head and heart are in the right place. I do.
Right. Okay. Now this is from Joanne Willery from a couple of days ago, and this is right up your alley, Bob Ryan. This is a meatball right down the middle. I've heard that Fitch advised Larry against shooting threes. If so, it would be the worst coaching moment in the history of the NBA. Sure, Bob Ryan knows if this is true, and I would love to hear his thoughts.
Never heard a thing like that in my life. Never remember anything like that.
Yeah.
At all. We want to talk about the evolution of the three here. This just gives us an opportunity to do that.
Sure.
But Joanne, I don't know where you got that, because I sure never heard it from either party. So I don't remember anything like that at all. Now, what I can tell you is that the three was looked upon much, 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 much differently in 1979 than it is today. It has evolved into the currency of basketball. It did not start out that way, and I've got data that will blow your mind.
Hey, we'll be back to the show in just a minute. PrizePicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. So you just pick more or less, like Jordan Brooks, Miami terrific defensive player, more or less than 7 tackles this week. He's hovered, it's about his average per game. Drake May, 20 or more completions, more or less this week for the Pats. Make your pick with PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
The rule came into being in the NBA. Forget about the ABA. They had it about the NBA instituted it in 1979-80. It happened to be Larry Bird's rookie year, by the way. Okay. That year, here are some of the team totals, shots attempted, 3-point shots in an 82-game schedule. The number 1 team was San Diego, with Brian Taylor leading the league in attempts, 239 attempts, and the team had 543. The Celtics attempted 422 threes. Now, the Lakers, in an 82-game schedule, attempted 100 threes that year. 100. Atlanta, 114. But here we go. Excuse me, Kansas City. That would be Sacramento today. The Atlanta Hawks, the first year of the rule, took 75 threes.
Wow.
Now, let's fast forward 5 years later, 5 years into digesting what the three could be. The number 1 shots attempted were down. The number 1 shots attempted was Utah, 317. which is more than 200 fewer than San Diego took the first year. The Celtics, having taken 422 the first year, in the fifth year, said, that shot stinks. They took 229.
Oh, my God, half.
55. Larry Bird, in the fifth year of the rule, was 18 for 73 for the season. 5 years in. Okay? Atlanta, 106 attempts. Chicago, 117. This is for the whole season. Philadelphia, 107. Now we want to back up to the 1980 All-Star game, Larry's first year. The final score was East 144, the West 136 in overtime. Okay? How many three-point shots attempts do you think there were total between the two teams?
10.
7.
Ha!
The only one made was Larry Bird. He made the first three-pointer in the history of the All-Star game. He was 1 for 2. The West was 0 for 4.
That's unbelievable.
Okay, now it was toxic. There were coaches who were thinking it was a bad shot. You get benched for the shots that are routine today are unimaginable, because now, thanks to Curry and also Caitlin Clark, you're 3 and 4 steps behind the arc now.
Right.
And more people can do it because they practice it all the time. Okay. So the point I'm getting at is it was not, now in the let's go the second year, the 1981 playoffs when the Celtics won, Larry Bird's first championship with the big three. Okay. There were 17 games in the playoffs. In the 17 games, Larry Bird, who we associate with the three-point shot, was 3 for 7. And in the clinching 6th game, hit the only 3 in the game. And Johnny Most went crazy. A three-pointer from the corner. Oh, Larry Bird. Yeah, he had a three-pointer in game 6 that put it away. And he was 3 for 7 in the entire 17 games of the playoffs. That's how much the three meant. That people didn't. Now, it took 10 years until 88, 89 before any team in the league took as many three-pointers as Steph Curry took last year, personally.
Wow.
And that wasn't even Steph Curry's high. Steph Curry last year attempted 784 threes.
Holy cow.
His high was in 2015-16 when he attempted 886 threes. And last year he was down from the year before when he attempted 876. Okay? It took 10 years, 88, 89, before two teams actually took more threes than Curry took last year. That year, you know what team surprised me? The first team to break the 1,000-shot barrier were the Knicks. I wouldn't have associated them with that at all. Okay. So that's where we are, folks.
Yeah.
Now, that's how we came from. It was not, people didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't important. Larry was the first one to make it a pure psychological weapon.
Right. It was a dagger.
Larry made it. He saved it for the big moment.
Right.
And then as time went on, but he didn't take many in the first half, for example, as a rule. And in those days, in the early days. But, and by the way, in 88, 89, that year that took 10 years for a team to do what they had done and what they did. That year, Larry was hurt, only played 6 games.
Yeah.
Celtics that year they were 78 for 309. That's all they were, 309 attempts in 82 games, 10 years into the rule. Without Larry, they just stopped doing it. 78 for 309.
Sure.
Okay. It's just amazing. All right. So that's where we came from. Now, the most important name in the evolution of the three was Daryl Morey. Now, do you remember him when he was with the Celtics? I never met him.
I think I maybe met him once because I like Sean. He was friends with Sean Sullivan, and everybody knows Sully. So I think because I was doing the pregame and postgame show, so I was
Yeah.
around, but I wouldn't say that I knew him.
Well, I was around. But I never met him. He was the vice president of operations starting in 2002, and at the Celtics. And of course, he then goes to Houston, and in '07, and he spends 13 years there. Now, I've forgotten. He got a degree, his PhD or whatever the hell it was, master's is from MIT.
Right.
And he instituted the Sloan Conference that every year. I went to the first couple, but I still didn't meet him. Okay, but he's the guy that gave us the idea that three's better than two. Put it in and got the metrics on it, and the most odious phrase that in basketball for me. The worst shot in basketball is the long two. We can attribute that to Daryl Morey. Okay?
Right.
And I say that what we have now is a complete Daryl Moreification of basketball.
Daryl Moreification. It's true.
That's what we have. Okay. So Joanne, that's where we are. But I don't ever remember Bill Fitch saying to Larry or me, I never heard it. And I never heard Larry tell me that Bill didn't want him to take any threes. I can't believe that. He might want him to be judicious, and Larry was judicious, I think, by nature. Oh, by the way, one more thing. If you recall, Larry said he didn't like the three at the time, and there were two reasons at that time that he didn't like the three. The first one he said was that the referees didn't always get it right, that sometimes they allowed, depending where the people's feet were,
right.
They didn't count a three that should have been counted, or they counted a three that should have been a two. Well, that's been rectified, obviously, by video replay, which we have. Right. Didn't have it in 79, 80, 81, right. Okay? The second one is, this is Larry. God love him. He didn't think that if you're up by two, you should get beat by a three. He didn't like that aspect of it.
Right.
That sense of fair play. And he thought there was a gimmick shot. Right. And let's remember what the three is. Right. By the way, I've preached this. I will preach it till the day I die. It's the gimmick of a promoter. The three-point shot. Now, the idea may have been floating around, but nobody took it seriously. Abe Saperstein, the impresario of the Harlem Globetrotters, founded a rival league in 1961, people, called the American Basketball League, not the American Basketball Association. That's later. The American Basketball League. He founded a league that was supposed to be in opposition to the NBA, signed some draft picks away from the NBA that year, and he needed a gimmick, and he had a gimmick, three-point shot. So that's where it was introduced for the greater public. It was in 1961 in his league. His league folded in the middle of the second year. They crowned one champion, Kansas City Steers. I think Bill Bridges was on that team. Anyway, the league folds, and the Eastern League, which was then the second best league in the world. If you weren't in the NBA, you went to the Eastern League. They picked it up. And then in 1966, when the ABA came into being, they needed gimmicks, and they had the three and the red, white, and blue ball. Right.
That's what I remember, the red, white, and blue ball with the three. Right.
So that's it. But no one was asking for it. I'm telling you. No, when Dave Saperstein foisted it on America, nobody was asking for it.
So Bob, maybe you can remind us. I know when the leagues merged, right? The ABA and the NBA merged. Yeah. How did the three come into play?
Yeah.
The NBA.
Well, the leagues merged, but the benefits were enormous. The ABA 4 teams came in, and in that first All-Star game that of the post merger, of the 24 players, 10 were ex-ABA players.
Right.
And that
sobered, Dr. J, Gilmore.
That sobered up people, believe me. And off we go. But they imported the three, and they had some three-point shooters, Don Busey and what's his name, from Louis Dampier, guys like that, and of course Brian Taylor. And Brian Taylor led the league in attempts the first year they put it in, but it didn't take the league by NBA by storm. It was feet wet. You got your little toes in the water. And now of course you're 6 feet under, but that's how it started. But it wasn't a big strategic thing. Larry was the first one to strategize it in the league. Seriously. People don't, he was, and he used it judiciously, but because he just thought it was kind of cheesy. I'm serious.
Okay.
So,
how did it affect Chris Ford's career?
well, it helped Chris. He made the first one. He drifted into the corner on a fast break, got the pass, set those feet, and his first one, Chris barely shot a jump shot. He had a one hand set, and he got off the ground. You couldn't get the morning paper under his feet, that I can still see it, and now that's what you're taught to do, run to the corner. But he was the first one to do it in the NBA that night that we know of. We know we made the first shot because our game started at 7. That's why, it's just a matter of, we know that was the first game in progress, right. and he made the first one. But he had a run that year where, he made like a 3-pointer in like 18 out of 19 games. We were just, I was writing then. I'm making a big deal out of this, about, he'd make one a night. But, that was a big deal. But, Chris, it helped Chris. There's no doubt. It was good for Chris.
I remember that. That was great. Bob, terrific job as always. Joanne, thank you for writing in. You've been listening to the Bob, Ryan and Gary Tanguay podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. The show is brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. PrizePicks. Run your game.